What if racial liberation is actually the most important spiritual work we should be doing? I am
Yeah.
so excited to bring you on today, Sasha, and to bring Sasha's voice and message and this conversation to the community today on the Magdalene interview series. I'm Melissa Keenan. If you're new to these conversations, I've been hosting conversations. I think we've done maybe somewhere around 35 or so conversations with different women who are holding the Magdalene or weaving the Magdalene into their current work and carrying medicine in relationship to the Magdalene for women today. And the intention of this show is to really widen the conversation around who Mary Magdalene is and why it matters for women leaders today. And so that is what you can expect for this conversation. I'm so excited for you to meet Sasha. Before we introduce her and have her share about herself, I just want to also invite any of you who listen to this message, if you're finding yourself resonating with this message and you also lead spaces and lead women, we'd love to have you join us in the south of France for the Magdalene Pilgrimage, which I'm hosting in September. And if that's interesting to you, please DM me and I'd love to talk with you more about it. So without further ado, welcome, Sasha.
Thank you so much for this invitation. I am so honored and so happy to be here with you.
Yay. Would you please tell us a little bit about who you are and the work that you do? Let's start there.
Yeah. So um, I am first and foremost a mystic, understanding a mystic as somebody that has a heart-to-heart connection with the divine. I have been working with women and their reconnection to their body through pleasure, to liberation through pleasure, and healing through pleasure. For me, that is the one tool that all of these things have in common. And I have been training as a priestess since I was 12 years old. That was my first passion. My connection with the sacred has been the one constant in my life, the one thing that has remained regardless of every change in my life. So I've been in love with the goddess for quite a while now.
Wow, beautiful. We opened up this conversation before we went live, and Sasha had asked me like a little bit about my journey with the goddess and why am I hosting these conversations and what's my story. And some of what I was sharing with her was around my own consumption of spirituality. That through my 20s, I was so desperate for peace. I was absolutely in this extractive consumerism of spiritual tools, just desperate for healing, but not recognizing that I was perpetuating harm. And because racial liberation had not become a part of my spiritual work, it took me years for of working with the mother to finally have the mother bring this to me and say, "Hey, here's a big piece you're missing." I feel like a, universal shaking of like, "Hey," and really, coming into this work. And if you've watched any of our shows, you've probably heard me speak to some of this. But Sasha was like, "We need to have the conversation about this." So I figured I'd just set the stage, Sasha, with some of what we were talking about, and I'd love for you to just dive in and share what has been on your heart about these things.
Thank you. This is such an important piece because when we start connecting with spirituality, specifically with the spirituality of the goddess, it's very easy to find this whitewashed version of spirituality, right? Where everything is light and good thoughts, good vibes, good everything, and we feel like we have to suppress everything that is remotely darker. Uh, and what we don't realize is that that's actually a very racist way of approaching spirituality, that has a foundation on the suppression of those peoples where this spirituality was actually born. Because Mary Magdalene herself was what today would be considered a person of color, um, which is an invention, a term that is an invention by
Right.
colonizers. That is not really the way we should be referring to people, because we are all actually people with diverse origins in ourselves. But these ideas of black and white spirituality, black magic, white magic, uh, good thoughts, good vibration, versus everything darker and heavier. It's just this division that keeps us disempowered, because we
Yeah.
cannot really embrace the fullness of sacredness, of the goddess, of life, of this life force that flows through us, unless we embrace all of its complexity. And its complexity is multicolored. It has different roots in different cultures, in different ways of seeing the world, in different mythos from all around the world. And one thing that I always like to remember is this phrase that I read a long time ago that said, "The goddess is white in the dark and dark in the light, so that
Mm,
you can always see her." And that recognition implies, yes, our lives, how she's always there to be seen and perceived in the darkest night and in the brightest days. But and that comes okay, that phrase, it's a pun intended, because it comes from a comic, but like there's always there, in the light and in the dark. But at the end of the day, it also means that all cultures have a part of her. All cultures have fallen in love with the sacred and have a different piece of the cake. And unless we embrace the whole cake, we are missing on all the flavors that are
mm,
present and available to us.
mm. Sasha, what you are saying is so important. And really quickly, do you have a way to like, do you have a couple doors you could close or something? Because I can hear the dogs in the background. And
It's
I,
a neighbor's dog. I'm like, please, doggy, be
oh,
quiet.
on
Particularly
neighbor.
noisy. I
Well,
do
we
have
will
a dog.
endure
I
that.
have a beautiful golden retriever, but she's quiet. It's the neighbor's dog that just felt a little bit too chatty right now. I'm so sorry about that.
He has something to say about the thing.
Yes.
That's okay. We'll endure. It's totally fine. I just so appreciate the way you painted that picture. And I think that you know, in my experience from having come from being someone who was completely ignorant to someone who is now learning and working and trying, like, there's no perfect way to do this. In fact, the most perfect thing to do is to always acknowledge, like, I don't know, and I'm still learning, and can we learn together? And it's been so beautiful. And if I can be so bold to say, when I stepped into this work, oh, he listened to us. He got quiet. When I stepped into this work, it was because I started becoming more conscious of myself as a leader. You know, I've been running business for the last 8, almost 9 years. And I started thinking, I need to really think about how I'm leading and how are people feeling in the spaces with me. And I also was asking, why don't more people of color come in and work with me? And it was like, oh, there's some glaring answers, you know, in that question. What I didn't expect is that doing the work of deconstructing whiteness, not that any color of our skin is bad, but whiteness as a construct, as a system in society, which it is,
Yeah.
has brought me so much peace. It's like the mindset work or the self-care work or the whatever work that no one ever taught me, that was like this missing piece to peace and wholeness in my, like, I'm a beneficiary. I feel terrible because I'm like, this was supposed to just be like about others. And also, I'm so grateful because it's like you said, you use that analogy of the cake. And I'm like, that is how I feel. Like life is so much more rich and full and beautiful. And also, my spiritual practices, when I'm entering into those places from right relationship, compared to just consuming it, there's a depth there. It's like the medicine couldn't reach me. It didn't matter, if I was using the sage or if I was doing the things. The medicine couldn't reach me until I learned how to approach it with reverence and gratitude and proximity to the people who have held these traditions. It's so important.
So important. And I feel like one of the most important parts of this is that it's because these people are still alive. Like there's this idea that the old Mayan, when the Mayans were teaching about the goddess Ishel, it's like, oh, they are still there. They are still alive. They are still present. The people of Mary Magdalene is still there. It's been actually suffering greatly these years. They are still there. We are all alive still. When a friend of mine told me, oh, they teach you about Assyrians as if they were a lost civilization, but we're still standing. I was like, well, same with the Mayans, as with the Mexica, and we are people that are still standing. And while we stand, our grandparents still come with us. And that's the thing for us in Mexico, for people in the Pacific Islands as well. And I'm sure that for many people all over the world, our goddesses and gods are not gods up there, but they are part of us. They are an extension. We are an extension of them. So yeah, while we are out of the conversation, their full presence and their full power cannot be actually fully received.
Yeah.
They need to be involved because they are coming through us. We are their living lineage. We call them literally tata, abuelito, abuelita. Like, I was actually like adding the this beautiful image of Guadalupe Tonatzin, which is the dark mother in Mexico, because she's a mother. Like Tonatzin means literally our mother. So you cannot speak about somebody without inviting their lineage into the conversation. You cannot speak about Yemaya and not invite the people from Africa and from Cuba into the conversation. You cannot speak about Nazi and not invite Mexicans into the conversation. We are a big living testament of these energies. And the thing with whiteness as a construct, like you were saying, is that it takes these legacies all of a sudden, but it expels the people from this that carry this legacy.
That's it right there. That there is a taking, and then there is an expulsion of the people themselves. And it looks like Sasha is frozen with us for a moment. We'll wait until she makes it back. But
Here I am.
there you are. This last piece that you said, but then the people themselves are expelled. And I think so many, I don't think that white women in spiritual spaces, and especially in this online space, even recognize this is happening. And well, some do because some are perpetuating, but I definitely was like so blind to it. And after interview, what I'm hearing is shocking. Like, I lived in a world that I thought we were in, like post-racial America. And I, just ignorance, totally head buried in the sand around this. And so hearing these acts of blatant racism, even in spiritual spaces, is so surprising to me. Where, for example, white women are going to white spiritual teachers and rejecting dark-skinned spiritual teachers, where many of the dark-skinned spiritual teachers that I've had on this show have said, oh yeah, when I first started talking and putting my message out there on social media and everything, I was constantly receiving negative feedback from white women in my comments, like, you're wrong, that's not what Mary's all about, and all of these things. Have you had that experience in building your business?
So much in so many layers. For starters, of course, speaking I am Mexican and Lebanese, so I carry these two lineages with me. Actually three, because I am Mexican with all of the European parts, like that at some point, because we are blend people, we are mestizos, right? But I'm also very Mayan. My father was 100% indigenous, and I am also Lebanese. So I have all of these lineages within me. But that means that standing in wide spaces has meant less recognition by some people, like are quick to listen to a white woman speaking about Tonatsin or speaking about the goddess, and then not really willing to invest or to, there's the dog again speaking a lot, like she's so passionate about it. They are not really willing to speak about it or to listen to people like us, or to pay for that, which is also a big thing, because they are expecting our knowledge to come free, but they are willing to pay hundreds of thousands to a woman that is white for the same knowledge. So that is a big thing. Like, yeah, they might want to listen, but I have had people literally going like, oh, I thought you would charge less because you're Mexican. Like,
wow.
Yeah, literally. And I have also had the experience of people that came to Mexico to learn the Mexican ways, the Mexican work in La Sierra in Mexico. And I was willing to go to a ceremony. She was honoring my mama, Tonatsin. And then she told me, oh, spirit told me, my guides told me not to invite you. I was like, wait.
Actually, it was your internalized whiteness. Oh,
Yes.
fuck. What? Oh my gosh, Sasha, that like is.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
What did you say? What did you do?
And I was shocked. I was like, my mom? Like, are you talking about?
Are we talking about the same spiritual goddess? Right.
Because it wasn't just like, oh, I wish, like I'm sorry, I don't really feel like this energy is for you or whatever. But she was like, my guy told me not to bring you. I was like, are you sure? Because I know her. Like, she has been my mama, and we have a very intimate relationship. Like, because that's the other thing. Our relationship with spirit is very intimate. It's like we feel them like you feel a mother, like the same way you go like, hey Nana, I'm going through this. That's the way in which we connect to our mom. That's the way in which people from India connect to Kali. I also saw that same thing happening in a tantric retreat to the one woman that came from India. It was a tantric retreat, and there was this woman from India for whom Kali is her mom, being rejected to do some work because there was racism invested, because there's this flavor of racism that it's very evident. So it's something that happens a lot more than I wish I could have seen.
Yeah.
Experience that it's very embodied. It's experience of deep rejection, of I want your knowledge, but I don't want you. I always say that it's like avocado. Like, you have all of these mega people eating avocado, but saying Mexicans stay away. That's the same vibe.
Right. Oh, I'm like, I just want to like honor the journey and the courage that you have had to step into day after day. Like the way that impacts someone's nervous system, to know When I show up and I open my mouth, these are the things that can happen and are happening. Like, and you are still showing up and you are still sharing these messages. It's like, in some ways, I almost feel like some of these more spiritual feminine spaces can be some of the most insidious and harmful. And I think that's the piece that matters the most to me, is like, do we see that if we don't do this work, we're perpetuating harm? Like, we, as in white women, do we see? Because if we don't do this work of deconstructing whiteness and really understanding it, we are doing harm, whether it's intentional or not, right? And then this extra element, which I've also been a victim to, but not, of course, not in the same way. But when white women especially are like, oh, look, I have all these spiritual tools. I actually have all this power. I actually don't have to be one-dimensional lighting. Then she can enter a place of narcissism. You know, this, like, my guides told me you're not invited. It's such bullshit. Yeah. It's perpetuated everywhere. Like, what are we doing with our guides? Like, if my guides were telling me to be mean to someone, I'm like, I'm going to start questioning the guides.
It's such a common conversation in these spaces, because the same people are the people that are holding the power, that are again being heard, being paid, being received and welcomed, while many of us are watching from the door.
Yeah. Wow. Sasha, I just thank you so much for being willing to share your voice in this. And I'd actually really love to invite you back onto the show where we can have another episode with a little bit less interference and things, because we haven't even really gotten into the depths of the medicine that you bring. Would that be okay with you? Can we book another session for this? Okay. We are having all these technological difficulties. And I'm like, come on, technology. This message matters so much. But I think we'll wrap up. So we've totally missed you, Sasha. The technology is just totally not working. But let's wrap up for today. And we're going to have Sasha back on the show. If you have watched this show, and we would love to hear your thoughts, your questions for when Sasha comes back on again. Feel free to DM me as well. If you are the kind of person that's like, oh, I'm not actually sure if I'm, you know, showing up in right relationship, and this is really making me think, and you just want to have a conversation, I would love to speak with you and you know, and point you in some of the right directions, you know, some of the resources and things that I'm tapped into right now, and we can learn and grow together. But thank you again so much, Sasha. We're going to bring her back because her voice is so fire, and we will not let technology thwart this message. Thanks again so much, everyone, and we'll see you again next time on the Magdalene interview series.